I would never allow a student not to be at the forefront or anyone who is still learning. I still have the trauma till today. Like, I was a victim of who was helping me bring my child to life, because my baby literally flew out like a fly. It was too strong. You know, that caused like a lot of accident for me. You do not need to settle for a health professional if you do not like their vibe. You want to feel safe in the hands of the people giving you care. I don't want to go to my GP, or I don't want to go to my midwife and I'm like, oh my God, you know, she's very uptight. As immigrants, please do not be scared to speak up.
You want to tell us what shared care is?
Health professionals don't know everything about you. It's a model of care that allows you to see both your GP and your midwives concurrently during pregnancy.
Why is that important?
It's important because you get full information. Your GP knows you really well. That can also save you tons of hours going to the general hospital every time. The only caveat to shared care is the fact that a lot of the things that we eat here are more like GMO. They're like overly processed food. Everything is in cans and packs.
They are not very good for you. They've used preservatives, they've used a lot of chemicals to keep them attractive, even cornflakes. You should not make it a habit to feed your children cornflakes. Those things are not healthy. They are processed food, you know.
Those things, they silently kill us. So no, while Australia has got one of the most advanced healthcare system globally, individuals and family members still suffer from significant challenges, and that's based from either lack of information or lack of what's available to them, awareness, or even just the fact that they're new in the country.
Absolutely.
For anyone tuned in to this podcast today, why should they keep watching?
That's a very good question. First, if you stay tuned, you're going to get information that will save you a lot of headache. It'll save you thousands of dollars. And we know because we've shared some of this information with friends people. And like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And that saved them literally, even as like, earlier.
A few hours ago, correct.
Yeah, and it's so profound. And that's why we really want to share our experience because we've explored the health sector, we would say, to a point, and we've seen so many things that are good. We've seen things that are like, So if you're new to the country, if you're moving to Australia, if you're just curious about wanting to learn more about the healthcare in Australia,
then this is
for you, right? Yeah. You would learn a lot of things about how the healthcare works, how it runs, childbirth, personal journey to recovery. I'll say. And the things you need to look out for when you're like seeking medical care.
Yeah. And I guess I should add, we would also be touching on some of the salient prices that people pay as a result of the healthcare system in this country. So whether it is pregnancy or childbirth or just even general health, we'll be touching on those as well based on our experience. And I think it's a really good place to plug in. This should not be substituted for medical advice.
Absolutely.
So please, if you've got any difficulties, by all means, please fact check with your GP or your physician or just, a medical person. All right. So, Noah, I guess in talking about the healthcare system generally in Australia, of course, we do know that Australia is quite advanced, globally when you think about like the hierarchy of things.
Yeah.
But would you say that the healthcare system in Australia is built to care for everyone?
To answer that question, I would say it really depends, right? Of course, on the surface, on paper, it is built to cater to everybody. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing here. Unlike where we're from, for example, where if you've got no money, sometimes you don't get access,
no one's looking after you.
Here, you get access, but the level of access you get will be largely determinant on things like your visa,
the
for
privileges,
example. So the way Australian health sector works is such that there's the private sector and the public sector.
Yeah.
Public sector is largely funded by the government through a scheme called Medicare, right? So Medicare is like the government subsidizing healthcare, general public healthcare.
Insurance.
It's not insurance per se.
It's your public health insurance because it's still subsidized.
Yeah, you're correct. So So basically, the government is subsidizing like healthcare to citizens, permanent residents, and
491 holders, a couple of
yeah. That is correct. And
you wouldn't know, would you? Because you're the bridging visa.
Okay, Robiton.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, some visa categories don't have access to Medicare services, right? So that means that, if you want to access, you have to pay out of pocket. And sometimes, a lot of time, Medicare is very expensive in Australia. So some people that can't afford it will be restricted.
You mean like medicals generally?
Yeah. So to answer your question, your visa will determine, for people that are immigrant like us, your visa will determine what kind of access you have. But it's also saying that the public healthcare service through Medicare does not give you access to some specialized services. Like if you've got dental stuff, right? It's physiotherapy and a couple of other specialized care. The government may not subsidize that, right? You know what I mean? So basically, you have to pay out of pocket.
You have to.
Yeah.
So in terms of what you've just said, which I think is quite important, especially for people who are wanting to move to Australia or anyone living abroad right now thinking, what does it look like? So in contrast to Nigeria, where no money, no healthcare. I mean, my brother is currently doing his housemanship, and he would tell me about some of the stories on how people were turned back and how even he has had to help some people with money.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Listening to him talk about people literally dying because they didn't have enough money to look after themselves, people dying from malaria as a result of no money, which is quite sad. And I guess that's one thing that we can be thankful for.
Yeah.
In Australia, where even if you don't have the money, they would still look after you.
There's premium on life, right?
They would look after you.
A lot of people die because of negligence or hospitals just waiting for money deposit and care is not timely, right? And they die. But here, you rarely see that happen. That I don't think that happens, right? So they would give you care. They can send you the huge bill, but they will support you regardless.
So, as you've just talked about the fact that Medicare doesn't cover dental, for example. But before I even go into dental, what visas, so as an example, we know some obvious ones, and of course we are not migration agents, but I think it's also important to talk about some of those visas that would not qualify for Medicare. A good place to start would be bridging visa.
Bridging visa, rub it on my face. If you're on bridging visa, you would not have access. Student visa would not.
Work visa
would not, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
What about employer-sponsored visa? Do you know?
I think 494 would.
Okay.
It's like 491, I think so.
Right.
Yeah, definitely they would.
Amazing.
And Medicare I'm jealous, but I'm also thankful. But we'll still dive into pregnancy journey and how much that saved us. But I'm thankful that you have it. You need it more.
Yeah.
Our boy needs it more.
Correct. And he's got it.
Yeah. So thankful for that. We're grateful for that.
That's good.
But he's also saying that if you have specialized needs, sometimes, as we said, Medicare will not cover that. And that's the other part. You need to turn to your private insurance or private healthcare. Yeah. And that is super expensive.
Yeah. So on our journey, I was able to learn a bit more about Medicare as well, as someone who currently has got one of those, is the fact that people also need to be aware of their GP, as an example.
Yeah.
So in Australia, if you've got any condition or if you've got any medical issues or if you're pregnant, the expectation is you go and see a GP first.
Yes.
And then the GP will then refer you to a specialist or the general hospital or whatnot. Yeah. That's the process. So please be aware of that.
Yeah.
But to get the full benefit of Medicare, there are some practices that offer bulk billing.
Yeah.
So let's delve a little bit into bulk billing, Noah.
bulk billing was so confusing for me, especially in the first year. You know, we'll go for, when we were pregnant, right? We'll go for checkups and they're like, here is your bill. But when we moved to Brisbane, right?
It was different.
Queensland.
It was so annoying.
They were like, when we were done with the GP, I'm like, oh yeah, it's covered. You sure? They ask you, do you have your Medicare card? I'm like, yeah. And we don't have to pay. That's when I started knowing, but I hear it in the news.
But
some GP practice are bulk billed. I didn't really tune into that part.
Let's tell someone who doesn't know what bulk billing is.
Yeah, I think it's an incentive for government, not an incentive. Government basically subsidize your healthcare. Going back to what we were saying about benefit of Medicare service, right? Medicare card. So you got Medicare card.
I do.
If you go to the GP for consultation, if you go to a practice that is bulk billed. Now the tricky thing is not all practices are bulk billed. Like some would display it bulk billed, some would say only for children. They have different policy around that.
Yeah, so but let's tell them what bulk billing is. What's bulk billing?
It's really like government subsidizing your healthcare.
And also the fact that if you're lucky and you find a practice that is like bulk billed, you wouldn't make payment. Like they would like just send you get the rebate, or what's the cost of it? Yeah,
so government would have paid, depending if it's not a large, if it's just consultation, you most likely wouldn't have to pay, right? Mm-hmm. It's like maybe $80, $40, whatnot. If it's a bulk bill practice, you don't have to pay, you just working, get a consultation done. But if it's not, then you have to pay, right? Or like
that was so annoying for me when we moved to Brisbane. Sorry, we're not bulk billed. I'm like, what do you mean we're not bulk billed? I'm coming from Launceston. I will just go in there, tap, and you just like...
Yeah.
But
But it's always useful,
In terms of, as we just round up a little bit about Medicare. So Medicare doesn't cover dental, as an example.
You would know. Tell us about that, Jenny.
Oh my goodness. So I didn't have a Medicare card at the time anyway, so it didn't really matter. Yeah. But for anyone who's got like perhaps any dental or conditions or anything in relation to like, dentistry, and you want to explore, please know that Medicare wouldn't cover it. Like when I had my Invisalign, so for those who do not know, it's like an advanced braces. So it was for me I went through like orthodontic treatment because I didn't like the way my teeth, the formatting and like the structure. I wasn't comfortable with the structure, so I went and got it fixed.
It was a preference thing.
Cosmetic, they called it.
Yeah.
So Medicare would never even cover that anyway.
Nah. So even some insurance would not. Yeah, they definitely would not.
Yeah, not really, because it's still like cosmetic.
It's cosmetic.
It's not life-threatening.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's a really good information to know as well, because Medicare is like oftentimes very like romanticized, and people may think it covers everything. No, it doesn't cover everything. It doesn't. NHS in the UK is still a bit more like dynamic in terms of what they cover. Like they cover even things like your ophthalmologies, your eye treatment, dental, a couple of other good stuff.
But they wouldn't cover like Invisalign.
I don't know. Those are cosmetics. So like that's like your personal choice. Yeah. It's not life-threatening. It's not dealing with me in any way, shape, or form. I didn't like it, so I fixed it. And I suggest you do as well. Like if anyone is out there and you don't like the structure of your teeth, go and get it sorted. It can cost an arm and a leg as well.
It did cost should have given me that money, right? But anyway, makes you happy, so that's what that matters. So
certainly does make me happy when I think about like the outcome of the treatment and just jumping inside and doing what I needed to do.
I guess it's a good place to actually ask this question.
Okay.
This is a salient point here. We've interacted with a lot of people who are pregnant, right? We're expecting. We've gone through that process as well.
Yeah.
Can you just summarize what was that journey for you? Exploring the health sector here, receiving care and all of that.
Yeah.
Would you say you were fully supported as an first-time mom?
That's a great question. Just thinking back, like the last 18 months of being a mom. Journey started in Launceston. In terms of the support that I received in Launceston, and this is one thing that I would love anyone watching to keep in mind.
Yeah.
You need to follow your gut and you need to follow your instinct. You do not need to settle for a health professional if you do not like their vibe, for lack of a better word. I'm using that very, very carefully. So for me, in terms of support, I was very certain on the type of professionals that I want. I wanted someone who was kind.
Yeah.
Someone who had a little bit of my personality as well. Someone I could have a chat with.
But I didn't always agree with that.
No, you don't. But this one was very extreme.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, because pregnancy, to your question, that's one of like your most vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
You want to feel safe.
Yeah.
In the hands of the people giving you care.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to my GP. I don't want to go to my midwife and I'm like, oh my God, she's very uptight. Personally, I do not really, really agree with like very uptight professionals. I think you need to, I completely appreciate that sometimes people go through a lot of things in their lives, but like when you're at work, please feel free to put your emotions on one side and support this person. Now, when we're in Launceston, the very first person that I saw, goodness Lord, we had done the check at home, the Clear Blue or whatever it is called, and we realized that we were pregnant. So we wanted to go and confirm.
Yeah.
Now I saw this lady. She's like, "Oh, what's happening?" I said, "Yes, I'm feeling all of this." And okay, go and do the test.
Yeah, you guys
like no conversations, nothing. Gave me the stuff for when they need test. Oh yeah, you're pregnant.
Yeah, congratulations, you're pregnant. Like,
and then she said like really other abrupt things that I can't remember.
Yeah.
But instantly I knew, no way. This, you're good at what you do, maybe.
Yeah.
But you would never be my professional.
And that's the most important thing for me. I say, hey, they don't need to be extremely warm or whatnot.
For me, it's important.
Yeah, I know it's important to you. You're always looking out for that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
You don't necessarily agree in some situations, but there's been situations where you've agreed as well.
Yeah, to be honest, right? Sometimes you're like psychological. I think health is also very psychological.
It is, yes.
Sometimes you're going through it. Like, I remember when I was like, going through that process of like liver
condition.
Oh my God. I don't actually feel sick physically.
But like the whole system, it made you feel even more sick.
God.
Even like thinking about it, which is why the people that you see is also very important.
Yeah.
I recall the GP we were seeing, bless her wherever she is, very beautiful woman, lovely with her words and really kind and very, very reassuring. Yeah. Contrasted to that lady that we met the first time we went to Launceston. I forgot the name of the practice now.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is, as immigrants, please do not be scared to speak up.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable, and I recall telling the lady, when they asked me at the reception, like, oh, is there any reason? I was like, well, she's a really great person. I think she's really good at her job, but I'm not too sure her personality, there's a match in there.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, no, that's fine. And they kind of got me someone with my vibe.
Yeah.
She was really sweet and we would do that.
And then that thalassemia thing that I always struggle to...
Thalassemia.
Yeah.
So, but then I got this person and then she said I was diagnosed with thalassemia. And then she did all of these things. But she was very supporting throughout that session. So my response would be, yes, up until childbirth itself.
We're going to get into childbirth, right?
But throughout the pregnancy itself, I had the full support. I was very informed, but I did a lot of reading.
Oh, you did?
I did a lot of reading.
You had a diary. I wish you still had like all those notes.
Yeah.
I think it would have been so powerful. And
I did a lot of reading. I read to educate myself.
Yeah.
So we would advocate for our baby.
Yeah.
So we would be able to ask the right questions. And oftentimes, they would tell me, oh, are you a nurse? Or are you a registered? Like, no, I'm not. I'm just a girl who wants to be able to challenge whatever you guys say.
Yeah.
Respectfully, of course, so I can ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's very important. Oftentimes, people go in there blindfolded or blindsided or with limited knowledge. So when they say A, you just take A.
Yeah, take it like that. Face value.
Face value. You just take things like that. You should be, because when you read things, you can ask them questions specific to you and how you're feeling. And that would also help your health professionals.
We've also seen where there were contrasting reports before, right? So, and that's going back to your point, it's always important to approach things from a place of knowledge.
Absolutely. You always need to. So for me, I felt really supported. I went into all of my appointments with questions. They said one thing I read about it. So I know, I understand what they're saying. So I wasn't just accepting things because my GP was saying it. I was doing things from a place of knowledge. And that's what even led me to ask my GP, what is shared care? And how does that benefit me?
Yeah. You want to tell us what shared care is?
Yes. Before I even talk about shared care, I would like to also make a note that health professionals don't know everything about you.
Yes. It's personal health. Right?
It's personal health. They would give you baseline.
Yeah.
Your questions may also spur them to action. So shared care is really, it's a model of care that allows you to see both your GP and your midwives concurrently during pregnancy.
Why is that important?
It's important because you get full information. Your GP knows you really well. They have the info about you. And that can also save you tons of hours from going to the emergency every time or going to the general hospital every time. Wait list. Not wait list, but like really long wait times. But when you go to your GP, it's more personal. You're not spending so much time, and it's probably closer to home as well. The only caveat to shared care is the fact that if your pregnancy is deemed high risk, you would not qualify for shared care. Thankfully, we were deemed low risk, and it doesn't mean that if your pregnancy is deemed high risk and you're watching this, please do not be scared. Like it's just, they're trying to protect you. See it as they are trying to ensure that they're doing the best things for yourself and your baby, and they want you to be like pretty much at alert. So they wouldn't do shared care in that instance. But low risk pregnancy is really single baby, healthy mom, healthy baby, no concerns. High risk pregnancy could be multiple babies, as an example. If you're having twins, if you've suffered some miscarriages in the past, or if there are some things that through the scan, they've seen that baby may have one or two conditions, or if mom's, I think, more than 40 years old, I can fact check myself on that. But like if you're more than 40, that's definitely high risk. In Australia, I know that.
Just on top of that, you suffered from hyperosmia.
Yeah, during pregnancy.
Thank goodness I can pronounce it now.
Yay! That's actually a win. Did you just pronounce that well?
After many years. Anyway, how did that make you feel? Like, what was the feeling in that moment? Can you remember?
To be honest,
what is hyperosmia?
To be honest, I think we had a really smooth pregnancy.
Yeah.
Except for 3 things. The first one was when the GP said I had thalassemia, whatever. God knows what that even means. I mean, I know it, but I'm not even interested in delving into that. I can Google it. The second one was suffering from hyperosmia. I didn't even know it had a name. And again, my GP, oh God, bless this woman wherever she is. She was so good. She gave me like a lot of information. Like when you know what is wrong with you, you approach it from a place of, okay, this is the issue. This is how we solve it. So for anyone watching, hyperosmia is that condition that pregnant women often suffer from, which is really like magnified sensitivity to smell. So everything is intense. Everything is intensified. Everything had a smell. And it could vary from woman to woman. It depends. For me, everything had a smell, including water, including rice, pasta. And if you know anything about pregnancy, when there's a massive smell, it causes nausea. And when you've got nausea, you feel sick. So in that case, I couldn't stay in the kitchen. All of my favorite oud perfumes in the bin, all of my favorite meals in the bin. That really impacted me because I had to carry 1 bottle everywhere we went to. I had to have lime. I had to add honey to my drink every single time. I think, how much do you think we spent buying honey from Coles?
Oh, God. Oh, my God. We would have spent at least $1,000.
It would be more than that. It would have been more than that.
We bought honey, lime. That was even
honey, lime, and ginger tea. So hyperosmia meant I was able to smell everything. I couldn't tolerate things. Throughout the pregnancy, I had warm water. And my water had to be boiled completely, because if it wasn't boiled completely, it had a smell. Yeah. Rice had a smell as well.
Water had a smell.
Water, oil had a smell. Locust beans for traditional people. All of those things were removed from the house. We stopped eating goat meat as well. And I think we only had, you even stopped eating all of those things because we were smelling. But one thing I should also shout out is, oh my goodness, the intense support. Like, this man would say, so babe, what are you going to eat tomorrow? And I'm like, well, I don't know. He said, okay, I'll cook this. And you will literally stand. Babe, does the baby like it? Is the food good? I'm like, yeah, it's not smelling. Those were really tough times, because I had to stay outside when you were cooking. I had to stay in the car. And I recall one day, I walked from the office. I went to the office, and you were trying to cook this crazy goat meat before I came.
The smell was still like...
And then as I pulled over at the garage, I called and I said,
what the...
Babe, are you cooking goat meat? I said, oh no, you're back. I'm like, come back. Don't.
It was really tough. Yeah.
Those were tough times. It was really
beautiful, actually.
Like, thinking back now, it's funny, but then it wasn't, because everything had a smell. Yeah. We couldn't go to a restaurant anymore. If we went to people's houses, I'm like...
Yeah.
Wow. So that for me was quite tough, but there was nothing medically that could be done to that.
Thank you for that. Are there any tips generally from that experience that you want to share with people, maybe, going through that process now?
Yeah. So if you're currently pregnant...
And side note, I know when we go to the mall or go out, you see somebody's pregnant, and like,
she must be going through a lot.
This one still has a long way to go. Oh my God, bless this person. I'm like, don't worry, you still have your own another one.
I mean, I have so much love for pregnant women, and my prayer to anyone who is looking to God is that God will do it. Like, I have absolute love and respect for women, generally. If you're currently suffering from hyperosmia right now, I hope to God that you're not by yourself, that you at least have people cooking for you, because food is an important part of pregnancy. Yeah. So fingers crossed. But if you don't, a couple of things is even recognizing this is why you feel this way. For us, it's really helped us when we knew exactly what it was, so we could handle it. Yeah. You would make the cook and say, yo, babe, maybe stay outside while I quickly do this. Anything that has strong smell, we avoided. Yeah. So in that case, if you are by yourself, maybe order meals rather than cook those meals yourself, because the more smell you perceive, the more sick you become. Yeah. If you have a partner, your husband, hopefully they are able to support you and they can do the cooking, and perhaps you go out when the cooking is happening, so you won't perceive the smell. But if you just come back home to a nice cooked meal, you would be fine. Yeah. You may have to explore other things. For us, we're very exploratory and very open. Like, you would give a lot of suggestions. Okay, when I couldn't tolerate room temperature, you said, okay, let's try warm water. I was like, wait, I'm sorry. And I was like, babe, this is good. And we never looked back. Yeah. So just trying things. Of course, we asked questions. Remember, we asked the GP. Yeah, so I've been drinking warm water. She's like, oh, that's actually super perfect. She said. So every single thing we did, we asked. And one last thing on hyperosmia is the fact that always remember that your body is doing a natural thing. Yeah. Your body is doing exactly what it needs to do. Yeah. You are responding to pregnancy in your own unique way. Yeah. So never ever compare yourself to anyone.
And one thing I wanted to add is, like, just on the topic of what you can tolerate. Remember that day we bought bubble tea? Oh my God, I was so confused. Like, you started having this reaction. I was
itchy. My body was red.
And like, I had to carry you to the guard where it's a big I was nervous, oh my goodness. This one,
and bubble tea traumatized me for at least a year.
You had to leave it for 1 year even after the baby. I'm okay, baby has come now. Let's try before you ease yourself back into it. But that was scary that night. I was God, I was so confused, And
that's some of the things that can happen as well during pregnancy. And that's why I say you need to be kind to people. The other day, I put a post on TikTok in relation to the imbalances that would occur, hormones and all of those things. And someone pulled me up and said, what do you mean hormonal imbalances? They respect their bosses at work, but then they bring the hormonal imbalance to their husbands at home. And whilst I thought this person was sharing their view, I felt it was also coming from a place of limited knowledge on what can happen to women. So I strongly encourage husbands, women, family members to educate themselves when it comes to the unique changes that can occur, that can happen during pregnancy to a woman that could cause them to behave in the way that they're behaving.
Yeah.
And of course, I am not making excuses for absolutely nasty behavior.
Yeah.
One thing I was really grateful to God for was the fact that there was so much humor that you would throw at me during pregnancy.
Yeah.
You would mimic me, you would do things. And I guess one good thing that I really loved that we did was, it was the two of us against hyperosmia.
Yeah.
It wasn't me against you.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my husband did this, or my wife did this, or why is she doing this? It was literally us against hyperosmia, and you'd prepare the food. So support also. So it's not just women want to behave a certain way. Again, put caveat in this though. I'm not talking about absolutely nasty behavior here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about where things are reasonable and women are just reacting to things. And the information or the gap that a lot of people don't know is sometimes women do not even know why they are behaving the way they are. Recall when we were about to start Sing Skills.
And I do.
We had all of these great plans, and then we realized we were pregnant. And then around the 8-week mark, I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't even know what it is called until weeks after.
Yeah.
All I knew was the things that fired me up were no longer there.
Yeah.
The things that I enjoyed doing, I had no strength.
Yeah.
The things that I loved doing, I couldn't even give it a name. And you were there doing everything.
Yeah.
And I recorded, I was just you were like, oh babe, could you help me with this, this thing? And even you were like, this is very unusual.
Weird. Weird.
It was later on when I realized, it's called zero motivation. It's called zero energy. All I knew was I just was there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was called, that even I was losing motivation. So in a household where maybe the person didn't understand that she doesn't love me anymore, or she doesn't want to be a part of this. And those are really, really important things that I would, love husbands, partners, family members to take a note of. Sometimes women have absolutely no clue what's going on within them. All they know is they're there.
Yeah, I'm just always grateful. Hey, this lovely lady is trying to bring out a full-blown human. There's so much going on. So much going on. I can't even imagine myself being pregnant, trying to bring somebody to life. So, you just have to give all the grace that you have, to literally support. That's the only thing that matters, and that's very powerful.
Hey, can I ask you for a quick favor? If you're enjoying the episode so far, please hit the subscribe button, and I promise we'll make this bigger and better for you all the time. Do we have a deal?
Let's skip to childbirth. But before childbirth, actually, let's talk about some milestones in terms of that pregnancy journey. What are the tests? What are the appointments that needs to be done so that you have a smooth experience?
Yeah. Great question, Noah. So in terms of appointment, that if you're new in the country or you're just navigating pregnancy for the first time, is I say, of course, you start with your GP.
Yeah.
And your GP would determine if you qualify for shared care or not. If you do qualify, I strongly encourage that you do shared care. It gives you that leeway. You're getting knowledge, you're getting support from both ends, and you have your GP, and they would know pretty much your journey. Even once you have the baby, they will be able to support you because they were part of it. They wouldn't have to be reading things and all of those things. In terms of the appointment, it can vary right from the day that you realize that you have someone or people cooking inside that little tummy of yours. You've signed up to appointment for the entirety of the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Strongly encourage, please do not miss appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, why would anyone even want to miss this appointment? So please do not miss appointment. Go there informed. So there are different appointments that you'd have. There are lots of different scans. Off the top of my head now, I don't remember all the names, but I know we had to do different scans at different points.
Glucose.
We had to do the scanning first. So we had to obviously check if there were any conditions with the baby. They had to check my heart. They had to check my heart rate. There was one time the lady said she could hear a bit of murmur in my heart and something like that. No, you cannot.
Do ultrasound.
There's no sound in there.
Yeah.
You do your ultrasound. They check how baby is weighing. They check baby's gender. They tell you all of those things. They check for, I think, at 12 weeks or something like that. They check if baby has got potential of having Down syndrome or if there are any conditions that baby has got potential to have. They check you. Obviously, they test your husband as well. You go for all of those scans. For us, we were going every 3 weeks. We were seeing GP, I believe. So she would just do general vitals. She gave me some of the vaccines that I needed as well, which was really great. And, checking baby and glucose test wasn't too fun, that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's something I wanted to say as well about the glucose test. Do you remember what happened?
You don't like the cold stuff.
Yeah.
And you advocated for yourself.
So there's one thing that if you don't take anything from this podcast, remember that you need to be able to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And I was super thankful that you and I were there all the time. Husbands, listen. Partners, listen. If you have an opportunity to go to every single appointment with your wife or your partner or whatever you guys named it, please make time for that. 2 reasons why that is important. This woman may not have the ability to collect all the information they're saying to her. At that moment. You as a support person, you can help retain some of those information that would be useful.
Yeah, down the line. Yeah.
Secondly, is the fact that you would also be able to advocate because you know your woman really well.
Yeah.
And if there's anything I'm very thankful for is you never missed any appointment. Maybe when I say, oh no, baby, you have a meeting, it's like, there's no meeting in this world.
Yeah. No,
that is more important. And you never miss any appointment, even till now.
Yeah.
With baby, it's just, those things are just super important to you. So I just want to encourage anyone out there, if you have an opportunity to do it, even if you don't, please try and create it. Please create it.
That's the most important.
Nothing is as important as you being there.
Yeah.
Even if you're just sitting, you also would educate yourself and ask questions. Sometimes I would look at you and you instantly know I have no words. You ask the question.
Yeah.
Super important. So those appointments, we went together, you were there advocating. When I wanted to do my glucose test, again, going back to advocating for yourself, oftentimes they give you room temperature.
Yeah.
Or cold in some cases. Now, with the glucose test for pregnancy, if you puke or throw up, you need to come back another day. Now, if you don't know the process of this test, you go there fasting.
Yeah.
The last time you would eat, I think it was 10 p.m. It was not even 12 minutes. I think it was 10 p.m.
10
They said 10 p.m. the previous day before you come from the appointment. Please, the last food should be at 10 p.m. Yeah. So that means me being pregnant from 10 p.m., I had no food inside of me. And I couldn't use my honey and water. It was just water that I believe I could drink. So that means you're hungry. And the test is for like 3 hours. At least mine was for, remember, we had to wait because they have to do it at intervals. We went there at 8 a.m. and we didn't leave there until around, I believe, maybe 12. Thereabout, maybe 11 or 12. Now, when this lady came, she brought the old glucose drink. And as soon as you saw it, you already started to make a comment like,
yeah, because I know you couldn't tolerate like room temperature.
There's no way in hell I was doing that.
Yeah,
and
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. And OJ asked them the question and said, "Can we get the warm version of this?" And the lady hesitated like,
because not every time you hear that, I'm sure they don't.
She was like,
probably the first time they've heard someone.
That's different.
Yeah.
She was like, that's different. So, he was able to explain to them like, so this is the situation. She's suffering from hyperosmia. She can't take anything. The lady understood. And she made a point that I would not forget. We don't typically do this.
Yeah.
But based on what you've said, I would try and warm it up for you.
For you, yeah.
If we
put it in microwave,
I would not be able to tolerate that. I would throw up and they would send us back home.
We start again.
We start again.
That one was already very stressful, like, because you have to fast.
I had to fast.
Yeah.
And everything was tough.
Yeah.
So.
But that's why we say that it is important for you to be in a career, in a job that gives you time to do things that are important to you. High, being with your loved ones, your family in this moment.
Yeah.
Right? For me, there was clear line. There's nothing, there's no work. Those work now, they don't matter anymore,
no, they
right?
Don't.
But those memory, those
that we created,
it's so important. I can't forget it, right?
Yeah.
So that's always going to be more important than any work.
I agree.
And you need to be in a job that gives you that flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. But in saying that, it's delving a little bit from pregnancy, and I will come back to like childbirth and some of the things some of the prices that you can pay if you encounter really, really horrible, professionals in there. But no, in terms of healthcare in Australia, in terms of the processes, in terms of some of the procedures, as an example, do you think that has got any impact on what's the emotional torture that can have on people going through like the process, going through, obviously you start the journey from the GP before you move to the specialist. The whole Australia healthcare system, the whole process itself, what's the emotional toll that you think they can have on people?
I think it's a lot, especially for me as an immigrant, where my reality was different. So, like coming from Nigeria and a bit like of an experience in the UK. So in Nigeria, when you go to your doctor, because I had private cover, because of the job I was doing there. So basically, go to private hospital, no wait list. You go, they prescribe something. They almost always prescribe something. At the end of that consultation. But to be fair, I've never had any health stuff going on. Apart from like when my dad was dying and I was like always having high BP because there's no rest for the weekend. Anyway, it was a tough moment for me. So my BP was always rising. And that's the only reason why I had to go to the hospital then.
Yeah.
But you go there, maybe you have small things like malaria. They say, this looks like malaria, you get it, and it's done. And imagine my shock one day I went to the GP here, just feeling tired, like, normal stuff. And like going to the GP, which is the first point of contact, right? You go to the GP. They'll say, are you feeling this? Okay, we need to do a blood test, right? You always need to do a blood test. Before they prescribe anything, they have to check samples, right? They take samples and then they say, there are some things that are not, let's do another test. And that process is very draining. Like, even, when during pregnancy, when we go to GP, I'm always like, let's just get out of this. I'm always anxious. Like, I need to get out of this GP. I don't like, everything is fine, but that always
everything looks okay.
Yeah, I think it stresses me out. So basically for me, because there are many processes there. Yeah. You go to these, they say, oh yeah, do test there, and they struggle to get your blood, and then you come back, or they poke you so many times and it makes you feel dizzy, you want to faint, and because it's not easy for them to get blood from my veins for some reason, and that just always stressed me out. Anytime I know that I have appointment, I become even more sick than what is actually
the sickness itself, just
like
because
get
of
so worked up, right?
Lots of things that would happen.
Lots of things, like, okay, but what are you gonna say? Like, but I just want paracetamol, let me go. Like, but you're like, yeah, let's do this test. Oh, let's do This one is a very quick advice because we are from Africa, melanin, and we don't get a lot of sun here. But if you're in Brisbane, maybe you get
NT.
An NT, and where if you're not out, you don't get regardless.
Yeah. Like, so you predominantly work from home.
So you lack vitamin D, right? Which is very important for you. So by default, most of us are deficient. Vitamin D deficient. Right? So we need to always kind of like get supplements, to help boost that vitamin D. Super important.
Very important.
Yeah.
In terms of the health professional, which is something that you slightly touched on now, do you think there's any impact to people or individuals? Do you think there would be any impact on the level of care they get, depending on the health professional? So what price can we pay if I get a certain type of health professional supporting me through my journey? And have you been impacted by the virtue of the person supporting you through care?
Yeah, I have. Just like with every profession, experience, expertise differ from person to person, right? Yeah. So, for example, in Launceston, Tasmania, basically, they detected this issue, liver issue, but they never
swept under the
carpet. They didn't. There was no action, right? They didn't follow through. They were like, we're not sure what's happening, right? But just rest.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Brisbane, right? And then the GP saw something. I'm like, hey,
she never stopped.
We need to investigate this more. We need to investigate this more. Then that was the journey of blood. And on that journey as well, I will meet somebody just to take blood samples. They will poke me 3, 4 times, 5 times sometimes, looking for vein and all of that. Sometimes that thing goes to my brain and makes me dizzy. Yeah. When they poke you so much, and I say, come back next day. And because of that, the next day, I'm already like
unwell, like we go again.
We go again. And bless goodness. So recently I've been having good experience so much that even the last one, when I just go and say, I present my vein, this one, I don't do these ones anymore. I've already told them.
But that was bathed from what that lovely lady said to you and said, never allow nobody poke these veins. Tell them these veins. So the quality of care that we get depends on the health professional.
And you would know as well, right? So basically, just to wrap up that, this lady said, wow, the vein looks good, but it's not good for drawing vein blood, right? Just get it out of this. Don't allow them poke you here, right? So when I go to any center and I just say, poke me here instead. And I've been so lucky that I pray because I'm like, oh God, please help me. I don't want to do this. It's so mentally draining for me. I'm like, okay, do it. And the last, I think 2 times I've had to go.
I called you and you were like, oh yeah, it's done.
It's done. Like I was like super. She saw that I was nervous, right? And she was like, oh, okay. I was now telling you now that I'm so like messed up because I'm worried if this blood does not come out from this vein, like I have to repeat it and do stuff.
Yeah.
No, she was like, oh no, that's not right. If like, oh yeah, we now like yeah. So it was a good experience. Got the blood out. I still have another one next month. Already thinking. But anyway, yeah. So it has huge impact on your health, and that's why
the quality of care that you get.
That's why
depends on the health
and not just from me, from things we've heard from our friends and like people close to us and people we share ideas and discuss with. That there was a mind-blowing one we learned recently, but I'm keen to hear yours. You know, what was your view on that?
I have been a victim as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, still talking on the fact that the quality of care that you receive depends on the health professional. Quite profound. In your case, it went really well because that lady told you.
Yeah.
In my case, like everything in relation to pregnancy was quite smooth.
Yeah.
But during childbirth itself, like everything was really smooth up until when like baby was set to be born.
Just before baby was set to be born, one experience I would never forget was, you know how we were so passionate about what we do as SyncQ, supporting people, and you were contracting.
Yeah.
And we still had to deliver a class.
Yeah.
And you still have to do work in the background.
That Friday was tough. I remember I was in a
dark
room.
Oh my God, you were in a dark room, but you were still being there for people.
Yeah.
And people will never know. And I'm saying this because like there are people now that are working and that is part of that journey.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
because that strength in there, the strength of a woman contracting was this showing up for the world.
Yeah.
It's I'll never, like I was teaching you in another, you're like, I think you were like 6 centimeter dilated even.
I know. I would have been, let's say maybe 4.
Maybe 4,
the
right?
other day they said we were now 6.
Yeah, the next morning, we went to the hospital and they were like, oh, you're already dilating. Like, I didn't even know what that was before. Like,
dilation.
But like, yeah, but thank you. That was like, you know, incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. 2 things popping into my mind. In terms of quality of care and how the quality of care you get, largely depending on the health professional you have, my experience on that is really during childbirth when I wanted to have my baby. And hopefully this can help someone. Of course, I do have a sister who is going to be a registered nurse next year. So I would never say no to having a student nurse. Anyway, even like doctors as well, I have like they tell me, this person is, doing their housemanship. Are you happy for them to be in here?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, please let them come in. That's how they learn. But I had no idea she was going to be at the forefront. She was going to be the one to actually deliver the child.
Yeah.
She's a really lovely lady, but I don't think she's quite there yet in terms of the experience on how to guide and support someone like me who has got no experience as well. No. So in my case, it was, hey, we've got this student nurse, she's working today. Would you like her to be a part of your team, like the people? But you, of course, would have the midwife there. Of course, I said yes without blinking.
We thought she was supporting.
I thought she was supporting.
Actually, she was supporting, but
there was a shift.
Yeah, there was a shift.
I think that happened very quickly.
It was spontaneous.
And the midwife just stepped backwards. She was like at the other side, and this lady was right in front. And I guess just thinking about it, we had to do some in retrospect. We thought about what actually happened, and it makes sense because we had this lady. Now, the student nurse was at the forefront of our birth, and that impacted us significantly till today. That it's still, I guess, a price that we have to keep paying for allowing that to happen. So you just need to be careful. Please, if you have student nurses and you have them in the background, do what works for you. If you're comfortable with them being there, that's fine. For me, if I were to have another child, I would never allow a student nurse to be at the forefront or anyone who is still learning. Like, of course, I would allow them in the room, but I wouldn't allow them to be at the forefront. Like, call it whatever. I still have the trauma till today, because then that cost me like a significant burn, for lack of a better word. And that impacted you as well, because you were there shaking like, wait, what? What do you mean surgery? Look, I'm sorry. Like, what are you talking about? So, those things are really, really tough. So for me, that's something that I would always live with, that I feel slightly like I was a victim of who was helping me bring my child to life, because my baby literally flew out like a fly. It was too strong. And that caused like a lot of accident for me. And just listening to other people's story as well, like while we were preparing for this session, just researching online and seeing like the statistics of women that go through different things during their pregnancy as a result of the healthcare professional. They want to give you some of the pain relief. If they hit a wrong nerve, that can damage a lot of things. If you're talking about epidural and all of that jazz, that can damage a lot of things in your body. So if you have someone who is not experienced yet and they are the ones giving you that epidural, that can cause massive difficulty. When we were going through like the different pain relief options, I remember I said, epidural is going to be number 10. I do not want epidural. And that's because I wasn't too comfortable with the side effect. I mean, if you have to, you have to. Because pain is intense. But thankfully, I was able to go through like the old childbirth with no pain relief. Because everything was spontaneous up until, after we had the baby and we realized I had suffered the tear. But it's really around educating yourself, doing what's best for you. So again, you could be a victim and you may have to pay that price till forever. So better to avoid that. Ask questions. I'm going to have a student nurse. I'm going to have this person beautiful, or whatever the case is. Ask questions and be sure you're comfortable with it. If I were to do that moment again, I would ask some more questions, because the lady didn't. I was like, is that the person that's going to give birth, if you recall? And she was like, no. She would be watching in there. So I was like, 100%. Because I know I'm new as well. I wasn't too sure. So that was really, really,
that was like one of the toughest moments in my life. Like, you're happy, I've got our son.
Yeah. And then you're like.
And then afterward, do you know the check? You asked the question like,
did I suffer a tear? And the lady was like,
let me check.
Actually, we haven't checked. Let me check.
And she checked and she's like, we need to. And
she went to get the surgeon or whoever she went to get.
And when she told that we're going to go
into the OR,
my life switched.
Everything flashed in front of you, like.
I was cold.
Yeah, I was looking at your face like.
I was like.
I'm sorry?
Am I dying? Like, I was. It's the, like, I told you, like, after my dad's death, like, that's second, like, I was legit.
You were scared. It was a twist that went, like, talk about 9 months that was smooth. Talk about contraction that was smooth. Talk about delivery that was smooth. Then afterwards, you say you have to go to OR. For what? Yeah.
And what was the journey to healing? Like, I mean, we had to take several steps.
Healing was tough. It was very mental for me. It was a reminder. For a minute, I thought, will there ever be healing? Like, is there going to be such thing?
Yeah.
It was really, really tough going to physio, getting checked. And for the first time ever, I understood truly the meaning of trauma.
Yeah.
What that can feel like. And my heart goes out to anyone who like is suffering from any form of trauma. Like, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
And like there are moments still till today that I'm still slightly traumatized. And that's very tough. Healing was something I'm very thankful for. I am obviously always going to be 100% thankful for the gift of you, because like you'll just assure me, no, it's fine. Remember the GP said this. Remember the physio said this. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's true. They said it, I'm like, if I told you I was feeling a certain way, you say, yeah, they said you were going to feel this way. And that it's normal. And then that would calm me down, like, oh, they did? I'm like, yeah. And then you pull out like the fact, like, yeah, they're on this day. That was really helpful. We had both of our moms around. So they were helping and doing a lot of things with the baby, spending a lot of time helping like with the household things. Yeah. So that gave me enough time to literally focus on me. Yeah. Me, going through that pain. And I went through the old traditional, like massaging your body. I say massage, like very nicely. Yeah. It's not massage. Hot water. It's dumping.
Like you literally had
for 3 months straight.
Hot water straight down your body.
Twice a day.
That was like you would cry.
Yeah. I had not warm. I had hot water.
Hot. That's what I'm saying.
For 3 good months. Twice a day.
Yeah, but bless them. Like that was like traditional way, because we were blessed to have our grandma help us.
That was really, really.
And that affected intimacy.
Yeah, definitely.
For many months.
That really impacted intimacy as well, because you're like, will this ever happen in the way that it used to happen? Like, do you understand? And for you, like, for you were always like very reassuring, like, oh no, it's fine. You know, it's a process. And one thing that I always remember is this is a temporal pain. The trauma is still there, but the pain is not there, but the trauma is still there. Yeah. So it's like, it's a recollection of, oh, am I in danger? Is something about to happen? Is it going to, and I would joke with you like, is it going to tear all over again?
Yeah.
And then
you've not
like, no.
fully recovered from the trauma.
No, I haven't.
But we'll get there.
Slowly but surely.
We're gonna get there together.
Yeah. Slowly but surely.
But then what is positive pain?
I like that.
I know.
I really like that because it helped me.
Yeah.
When you think about pregnancy, when you think about childbirth, when you think about parenting, there's a lot of pain. Pregnancy is very romanticized. Childbirth is very romanticized. I mean, as it should, those are beautiful moments. But they also come with a lot of pain. It's like a paradox. It's painful, it's hard, it's tough, it's every single thing. Yeah. Especially for women and even for dads. No one talks about the emotion. Like, look at you, look at all the torture. You have to do all the cooking for 9 months straight. Did all the cleaning, did every single thing. Because what? I couldn't smell this, I couldn't smell that. And I don't think a lot of people would have said, so how are you feeling? It's usually the woman. So how are you feeling? So how are you feeling? One thing I would love to say in terms of purposeful pain is never ever miss the bathing classes that they organize. Those sessions are very, very empowering. At least the one that we attended. Those sessions are empowering. They're very educating. This lovely lady, I'm looking at her in my mind. Really, really amazing, kind lady. She, at around 32 weeks, we went for that breastfeeding class, or 33 weeks. And she said something that really helped me through my pregnancy and even through childbirth, to the point where I was able to deliver my baby with no pain relief. Yeah. She said, the childbirth is a painful process. We know that. However, it's a purposeful pain.
She said that, yeah.
Your body is doing what it needs to do to bring this child to life.
Yeah.
You need to allow your body go through that process. you need to not see it as you're dying, because you're not. Your body is coming together to allow for a freeway for that child or for those children inside of you. And that single statement changed everything for me.
Indeed, yeah.
To the point where contractions started 10 p.m. on Thursday, if you recall that night, where we felt that sharp pain.
Yeah.
And then we had the bloody show. 10 p.m., contractions started all through 10 p.m. Thursday night. We slept. After we called the hospital and they said, do you have blood now? Do you have mucus now? Do you have no, you're fine. Still good.
Mucus plug.
Yeah, mucus plug. You're doing really well. You remember?
Yeah, I know these things.
And throughout Friday, we had our Sync Skills class, our business analysis class. So that means I contracted for Thursday and Friday. It was just like, the pain's gone. And then it's gone. The pain's gone and it's gone. And it went like that until Saturday morning, when we actually had baby in the evening of that Saturday, when we called and said, hey, we're feeling this way. We're like, for comfort, just come and check. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
And we went in there. But that single statement kept ringing in my head. It's okay. It's a purposeful pain. You are not dying. Contraction, is it painful? Yes. Is it hard? Yes. Yeah. But my mind was set.
Yeah.
My mind knew that my body was doing exactly
what it needs
to do to bring our baby to life.
Yeah.
So it made me more tolerant of that situation. And of course, I also recognize that is me.
That is you. Yeah.
Every woman is different.
Yeah.
And I present as someone with very low threshold for pain.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how I was able to tolerate that. I mean, I would never make braids. I would never keep any braids that was painful. And that's why you probably would never find me on braids. I think I've only done braids I did one this year. And that was first time in 4 years.
Yeah.
I would never do braids because I can never understand the pain of braids. But childbirth made sense to me.
Yeah.
There was a reason. Braids is painful, though. Why would I keep hair? I'd rather go and lay my hair, lay my wig. So for me, what that lady said was very helpful. And again, that comes from knowledge is power. When you have knowledge, you've got power. With power comes confidence that you have no idea you've got inside of you. And that makes all the difference. And that made all the difference. Till today, I don't know how I did that without epidural or laughing gas or any of those things. I have no explanation for it, to be honest. I just knew I was able to tolerate it.
You're just the strongest I've ever met, And in saying that, there are other sacrifices that you had to make because that some things that you consume during pregnancy can affect the child, the baby.
Yes.
And we had to research a lot of things. We stayed away from fish that had mercury and so many other things, But speak to me about that. Do you genuinely think that what we eat actually affect?
100%. 100%. There's a lot of study out there. There's a lot of research that is being done right now to fully understand why some children would be born with certain condition. Is it as a result of some of the things that the woman consumed during the pregnancy? Is it genetics? Is it a lot of things? There are lots of things that a pregnant woman should run away from. Naturally, even if you crave it, run away. Why would you be pregnant and drink Coke?
Alcohol,
it doesn't even make sense.
Smoking.
Why would you drink alcohol? Why would you smoke? I mean, those are fully extreme. Why would you eat fish that's got mercury or any of those other harmful things? I was the girl that would go, if I went to people's house and they couldn't tell me what the name of the fish was, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it. And all the barramundi and all the things that we got, they were at the bottom of the freezer. Because no one was, even you said, we're not cooking.
Yeah, we're not cooking that.
So there were a lot of things that we had to stay away from.
Yeah.
Through research, through questioning from our doctors. I loved apple juice before pregnancy.
Yeah.
But during pregnancy, I was like, no, because why? I was also thinking about gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
Because again, research has shown that some of your diet can also contribute to that. It's not like it fully causes it, but it can contribute to you having those things. So for me, there were a lot of things. I didn't like sushi, a lot like sushi. Yeah. There are even some other fishes that don't necessarily have mercury, but you need to run away from them. Yeah. Cold food. It was said to not go because all those or something like that. Like there were a lot of things
Make
that
the child cold, like cold water
even
straight from the fridge.
Overly cold water, overly cold drink. We had to make that compromise and run away from it. Yeah. And there was one thing I would never forget. Inhaler. Please, during pregnancy, don't just take things. Ask questions. Is this safe for me? Yeah. Do not self-medicate. Do not diagnose yourself. Remember when I suffered from this condition where you would just always have like blocked nostrils for some reason. And when I asked the GP, she said it was something about the baby and the heart rate and all that jazz, that medical stuff. I was like, okay, fine. But these days, my breathing was very it was really tough to breathe. I just wanted to pick inhaler. Just pick inhaler and go. And then my instinct said, Tayo, you never pick things without asking. Go and ask them. Then I rocked up and asked the pharmacist and said, hey, look, I'm currently pregnant. I told the person the weeks. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, look, I've got blood nostrils. Is this safe? And he said, oh, no, that's not safe. What do you mean inhaler is not safe in pregnancy? Yeah. And then he explained to me, he said, because when you inhale the particular component, it goes down to the baby and it can go into the streams. And I was like, wow. Yeah. Bless your soul. Yeah. Who knew? Another surprising one was Bonjela. Bonjela is used like when you have like sore mouth. Maybe like your tongue or your gum is sore. You are not to use Bonjela if you're in your second trimester. And it's like silently written on it, but you wouldn't know. They seem very unharmful. Yeah. One would have thought inhaler was not great or Bonjela was not great. So again, when you're pregnant, do not use anything without checking. Ask with your physician, ask with your GP, read the label. By law, they have an obligation to tell us if something is safe during pregnancy or not. Retinols, all those skincare routine, all those things, they will tell you, do not use if you're pregnant or you're about to be pregnant or you're breastfeeding. Yeah. Advil as well, we ran away from. Yeah. Advil is a medication, a strong medication that helps with headache, but it boldly says, do not use if you're trying to be pregnant, if you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding. Yeah. Very important.
So I'd like to talk about how do you think there's any difference between the type of food we have here in Australia and Nigeria?
Of course there is. There's lots of in terms of the food that we have in Australia and in comparison to Nigeria, but based on my understanding and some of the things that I've read, a lot of the things that we eat here are more like GMO foods. They're ultra processed, overly processed food. We have microwaving food a lot. Everything is in cans and packs and just corn all around the year. In which world does that even happen? How do you have corn from January to December? We have all the fruit all around the year. You have everything around the year. Oh my God. It's insane. And those things, they silently kill us. Yeah. And it's very sad.
Legitimately felt the brunt because I would always I would always laugh, when we always talk about GMO, you show me seedless watermelon. I'm what? Yeah. I'm like, why would your watermelon not have seed? Is this even normal? All of that.
For 65 days.
You have so many things that are just always there, artificially made. And
always on material.
And stuff. And when your body has eaten more of organic stuff all your life, you just come to a new environment, especially immigrant, please. These things have impact on you. Yeah. When you walk into Coles, all of those supermarkets, see everything in the middle of the aisle, they are not very good for you.
Say that out loud. Say it out loud. Say it again.
They are not they are packaged, they've used preservatives, they've used a lot of chemical to keep them, attractive. Even cornflakes, you should never you should not make it a habit to feed your children cornflakes, cereals. All of those things are not healthy. I'm not the one saying it's there. You said she's there.
Yeah.
They are processed food, so it's very important for us, especially immigrants, because our body is used to something else, organic food. Correct. And then we're here, there's so many food, you eat, and you should not just always eat.
No.
Right? I'm a foodie, but I have control now. Not especially what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Having that liver fatty disease. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do anything.
It's not liver fatty disease, babe. It's fatty liver disease.
Fatty liver disease. Yeah, you get what I mean. But yeah, it is very important that we pay attention to our health. By default, all the things you're going to be eating are ultra processed.
They are.
The exceptions are the organic things, which you find are more expensive. So we mostly just all buy the things that are readily available and just eat. But we need to be careful.
We have to be super careful. We have to be super careful. Now, how did you feel when I said we should have our baby in the water? When I wanted to explore water birth for the baby?
I was not very sure of what I meant, but of course, educating myself and all of that, I was open to it.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued. We were planning for that. Okay, let's see how it goes. Water birth. They told us what the process looked like when we went to consult, right?
Correct.
And all of that. So it was safe. No issues with that. And you really you keyed into it. You wanted that experience. And
I wanted it.
But what happened then?
I really wanted to have our son inside the water. And that's also looking at the benefit of having baby in a bath. It's calming, it's because obviously baby is already inside a sack.
Yeah.
It's warm in there. So coming into a warm water as well, it's easier. It was also meant to be my one and only pain relief option.
Yeah.
Where I'm inside that calm, warm bath, dark light, getting all the support. It was music, soft music in the background.
We got them even in everything. True. Yeah.
I know, right? We serve a living God. So for all the benefits that was highlighted, I felt it was an option I would love to consider, but unfortunately, it was not available. When we moved, it was going to be available
on Tuesday.
3 days after we gave birth. So it was meant to be available on Tuesday. We had baby on Saturday, and I remember when grandmas were like,
grandmas were hilarious.
I said, no, I need to wait till Tuesday to have this child.
They play.
Because I need to have the baby in the bath. Yeah. But God had really beautiful plans. Yeah. But thinking about how parents reacted to it, they were so confused. I recall my mom inside water. I said, it's safe. And
they couldn't understand
it. They
it.
couldn't comprehend it. Even some of my friends were like, Tayo. What? I don't get why.
I think they prayed against it actually, and it worked.
Maybe. But anyway, we may explore that if we do decide to have another child, but it's a really, really great one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should.
Yeah, so generally, in terms of the healthcare, in terms of our experience so far, what would you rate it in terms of the Australian healthcare and our experience? What would you rate it and why?
That's a very good question. I think all in all, we had a good experience. We've seen a lot of people going back, in conversations with our friends.
Yeah.
There's this one horrific one that I can't get off my head. When I heard it, somebody going through CS process and they could feel the pain.
That was quite shocking to me. That was quite shocking.
I couldn't get that off my head. And I was like, just something I was trying to imagine that, like, feeling the pain, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody should have to go through that.
It was shocking to me that to be honest, I didn't think that could happen in Australia.
Oh my God, like anywhere. Not even like,
I mean,
that's like
in like developing countries, yes, maybe they but in Australia, I was quite surprised that they would put a woman through that during a cesarean section or going through cesarean, and she's feeling as she was being cut open.
It makes me dizzy. Like I can't. When I heard that
was a very sad one.
When I heard that, I'm like, nah. Yeah. This is why I always say we have to, in all things, we give thanks.
And also, people need to hold medical professionals accountable. Let's not do like Africans. Let's not do let it go. Let nothing go. If something happens and it's dodgy and it's weird,
you need to pursue
make them pay for it
legally. You need to
go the legal way, go the right way, and speak for yourself. In that case, yes, that's a very horrific thing for anyone to go through. Yeah. And I know and pray that they would pay for that action, because that is tough.
I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's just, again, mistake and all of these things that...
It's one of the prices
you pay. Like,
for the health.
It wouldn't have been deliberate. I don't think somebody that has that,
Of course, nothing is deliberate, but someone's paying for it. So
it's quite sad, like it is. But on that point of really pursuing things, remember we gave advice to one of our friends when, they've done childbirth on, I think, student visa, or was it work visa? And they had a bill like almost 20K to pay. And we said, you need to build your case and write to the insurance, and they need to do something, because it's crazy to pay 20K for childbirth, which we're grateful. We didn't have to pay anything, because you've got like Medicare card in our case, which I'm always thankful for. All right. So, and they pursued it, and the insurance waived it off because they were transiting visa at that moment. Yeah. Right. And since they're like with the same insurer, they should have that benefit not to be paying 20K in this economy, and that we got feedback that worked. And that's like benefit of not just saying,
sweep things under the carpet.
I'm going to just do it and be paying unnecessarily.
So generally, if you're listening to us today or anyone that may benefit from this, please share with them. Yeah. Do not sweep anything under the carpet in Australia. If something hasn't gone your way, ask questions. Yeah. Pursue it. If don't just take no for no.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to question things. Even in our cases, we question things, of course, respectfully. Please, I am not saying call people and be nasty or be rude to them, but question things. If someone says, hey, this is it, ask them, is that the best option for me?
Correct.
Even for us, when we had been on wait list for how many months? For more than 6 months. And then they sent us a letter, imaginary letter, which we never got. They said they made a call, which we never received. Then they instantly sent an email and said, sorry, we're going to pop you back on wait list. I said to them, no, we would not be accepting that. Let them know we never received no letters. We didn't receive any emails to that effect, and we've not moved houses. So you will not pop us back on wait list. And guess what happened? They found you an appointment that same day.
Yeah, I would have had to wait another 3 to 4 months.
So please, do not just take things. If someone said they're going to pop you back on it and just say, okay, no. Or if you got a very bad treatment from a health professional and you need to change them, speak to the receptionist, write letters. If something looks weird or dodgy, ask questions. Don't just accept it, because as immigrants, we have that tendency to just take things as it is. I don't want to question it. No, question things and make sure you are getting the best option. Well, I hope so that helps someone.
That is profound. I think that's a very solid advice. If you're enjoying this podcast so far, I'd encourage you to please subscribe, share with your friends. Really helps us to produce better conversations, bring guests that you would resonate with. Please subscribe